Right, blue. So, let's see what happens here. Okay, I haven't done this in a while. So what I'm going to do is kind of do what's called mundane astrology, where I'm going to cheat using um, the asteroids that are, that's my specialty. For those who don't know, that's my specialty. I do what's called, it's not, there's no name for it really, but I want to call it micro-astrology. And this is where I get to use all the asteroids and dwarf planets and centaurs and other forms of bodies that are small. That's why it's microastrology. So they're not. I'm not really focusing on the main planets. I'm focusing on the asteroids that kind of give me more of a cheat. So this is a mundane reading, astrology reading for the world. Um, uh, it was suggested to me that I give it a general feel. So I'm going to focus on specific parts. So, okay, so let's see what I see here. Uh, Usually when it comes to earthquakes, sorry, did I say earthquakes? Sorry, right away because I was reading a book on earthquakes. Um, when it comes to the world, usually we want to look at the moon. And because this is a general thing, we look at usually the moon and how it's affecting people. So right now, there's several things happening. So there are, what's happening here? Three planets making a what you call a stellium. It's conjunct the moon. Saturn retrograde, Neptune retrograde, Ceres retrograde. So because I'm not focusing on the big stuff, I'm focusing more on Ceres. She is a dwarf planet. Dwarf planet. She used to be a dwarf planet, but actually is considered now an asteroid. Um, she was kicked into the solar system, so that's part of how she's interpreted today. So she's kind of bringing in unconditional love, parent-child self. Um, so I'm going to read through a lot of these things, right? So because it's in the sign of Aries, it's new stuff. It'll be tied a lot to um, losses and gains, but because we're talking about it through mundane astrology, I'm going to go through specifically the mundane part here. Okay, so it could be pertaining to marriage laws, weddings, marriage, any sort of traditional stuff regarding fertility, uh, parent-child relationships, parental care, because this is people. This also has a lot to do with the agricultural system, because it is the people too, it's tied to epigenetics. hmm Um, I realize I misspelled that there. Okay. Um, but it also is tied to things like because it's related to children or not children, people. Uh, this is kind of dark. I know I don't want to mention this, but incest. Okay. So things like that. It's the issues regarding because it is tied to Neptune and Saturn here. It's a kind of you can say a reset, a restructuring. Disillusion comes through Neptune as well, transcendence of that whole thing. So what I mean by incest in this case is it could be literal incest, but it could also be things that are like, why do we do that? Right? So physiological cycles is also part of this one. So farms, like I said, the agricultural stuff, farming tools. Again, back to the mother stuff because this is the moon. Maternity leaves or single parent households are included here. Okay, so new beginnings, new restructuring of those things, of the people. Um, Anything to do with farm, really. Anything that's like fields, open land, farms, things to do with apples. But it also ties in with Saturn's placement here, which is thanatology. So it's something to do with the study of dying. So funeral homes, portals is also included here. Portals are transitions, right? So if you look at the history of Saturn, Saturn was the limitation back in medieval astrology or older astrology. Saturn was seen as the limit of this of our psyche, of our perception. So portals is makes sense why Ceres is here. There's portals, um, doors, gates, mirrors. Um, so anything to do with that, water as well, lakes, reflective surfaces. Okay. Because of the farm thing I mentioned, animal sacrifices or cows, calves, pigs are also included here. Okay. I'm going to mention several places probably where we're talking about vast acres of land or arable land, anywhere there's that. So Canada, anywhere from Canada, Russia, the Mongolian steppes, those who know what that is part of, it's in Western Mongolia, that area. Um, Bangladesh is part of this one. Denmark, Ukraine, I don't know. Arable is still part of that, yeah. Ukraine, Moldova. Moldova is in Europe. It's beside Romania. Okay, India, Hungary, Rwanda, Comoros, Togo in West Africa, Gambia, I believe it's West Africa as well. In the United States, many of you are from the US. Okay, China, Brazil, Nigeria. This includes ancient portals. So anywhere from places like in Peru, Egypt, Lake Michigan, the United States, but that's also part of Canada. England, okay, Euphrates River, okay, Tiwanaku in Bolivia, Sri Lanka, Egypt again, like I mentioned there, and the Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, and Sedona as well, so because we're talking about portals. So talking about anything in those places that have a lot to do with what I just mentioned. Okay. Um, it's square Jupiter, so that means that there's probably because it's retrograde too, there might be sort of expansion to like family stuff. Businesses might be kind of a challenging part of a thing right now. Okay. Um, there might be challenges in terms of like how that you start your own business. If you're new to a business, because it is in Aries, it is square to Cancer, there might be limitations to getting a new business. So I wouldn't necessarily go into a new business, probably rework or restructure the business that you're already in. If you are in a business, probably work on that. I'm not trying to give advice here. This is not what I'm here for. I'm just saying I'm reading what I'm reading. Okay. Let's see here. I'm what am I seeing here? Oh, okay. Ate is part of this process here. So what I'm going to do is going to go to the asteroid Ate. Uh, so when it comes to mundane astrology, these mostly about things like, let me put it here. There's a lot of information about her. So, that's medical astrology, mundane astrology. Here we go. Okay. Uh, okay, so sanctions might be source relating to sanctions. Now, because the moon also rules women, there might be places in the world where there's probably kidnapping. I'm not saying this is what it is, but that's what it is. Kidnapping anywhere from that to negative stuff, like and women's rights. That's a big one here. Okay. Unfit rulers. The incest thing is that's tied to this one. It's funny how that comes in again. Inbreeding. So again, restructuring of why we get into that stuff, going deeper into the psyche, because Saturn also is the traditional ruler of Aquarius, and right now Pluto is in Aquarius. I believe it's still in retrograde. Yeah, there's that kind of stuff. So little things, little pockets of the world, private things that are happening are causing us to question these things that we've had done before that were normalized. Okay. Um, because it is to the moon, it also is tied to what do you call this? The magnetism of the earth. Any sort of magnetism, your auric field as well. Okay. So going back to Ate here, any sort of pregnancy related stuff. So birthing again, contractions is part of this one. Okay. Childhood trauma. There's the big one there. Any promises we make are vows or oaths. Okay. Prayers, fake news. Watch out for those things. Things that are moving really fast. Okay, so speed, rapidness, shining things or shiny things, jewelry, any sort of shiny things, shiny objects. Could be metals as well. Base metals, including here. Uh, Slingshots, things that are whirling objects, things that are thrown away. Okay, barriers, having boundaries. That's a Saturn thing. Okay, spirits, ghosts, apparitions. That ties in with the portal that you saw in the series I mentioned earlier. Okay, supplication, prayers. Okay, apparitions, smoke. Which probably ties in with the forest fire stuff. Cities, towns, anywhere there's towns, cities, mountains, okay. Drinking, disinhibitions, any sort of drunkenness, okay. Friendships, so it's a also new friendships are coming around. And remember, this is a placement in Aries, so it usually means new endeavors, new things, starting over. So new seasons, new cycles, first round. When you hear there's first round stuff, charities are also included here. Polar opposites, people with bipolar diagnosis. Okay, this is not medical astrology, so I'm not going to really, we're talking about that. Prison breaks, vendettas, schemes. Okay, armaments, defense systems. That's an Aries thing. Okay, horns, reins, chariots, wagons, cars, driving, cows, bulls, horses, herding in herds. Okay, getting back to the childhood trauma. PTSD is also included here. Abandoned children or feral children, rebels. That's an Aries thing. Delinquency, anti-authoritarianism. Okay. Excommunications, banishments, crime. Okay. Wind instruments for some reason, and guitars, pipes, wind instruments. Patrons and patronages. Places that are conquered, colonies that are conquered. So there's, well, probably seen. I don't watch the news anymore. Probably there. Appeals that are made. Okay. Abandoned places, just like abandoned children, abandoned places here too. So that means also means orphanages and orphans. Okay. Dark stuff, I know, but we have to face this. Okay. Teen suicide, juvenile crime and criminals, banishment, criminal masterminds reporting, tattletales, telling on people. Okay. Delinquent behavior, delinquency, I already mentioned that. Again, trauma. Neuropsychology, pediatrics, cell therapy. I think that's tied to Ceres. Ceres is epigenetics, so there's probably cell therapy included here. Deep Earth mountains, so places like Central Pacific Ocean, like Hawaii. Tuzo in Africa. Jason, the Pacific. Okay, Antarctica, probably included here. Okay, Deep Earth mountains. Anywhere hidden. Okay, anywhere hidden. Literally, like anywhere places. There's a place in Greece, a place in the Republic of Congo, Argentina. There's a pagoda in Burma. Okay, ancient sites. So anywhere there's ancient sites. Okay, secret gardens as well. Anywhere you have secret gardens. Okay, kayaking probably included here. Sunken caves. Okay, and skiing. Kind of an Aries thing. Okay, so there's those things with Ate here. Let's see what we get. What else we get? Ah, Freya's here. Let's see what we get here. Probably most likely tie in with what I said earlier. Okay, so stone altars. Okay, sacrifices, offerings. That kind of mentioned that earlier. Servants and servitude, assistance, so slavery, any sort of hidden slavery that's been, that's coming to the surface, most likely, or restructuring of that, right, will come through. Any sort of assistance, aid, domestic violence. Okay, again, those are being restructured, new things. So coming to the forefront. This is the age of Aquarius now. Nobility, lady and ladies, like the lady of the house, lady positions. So mistresses is also included here. Concubines, women of rank. priestesses, spells, invocations, queens and matrons, lords and ladies of the house, advisors or leaders, so council, of fame, decorated halls, lavish homes, places, inheritance, ancestry. So when you're going to answer, that's also tied to the moon. Love song, love affairs. Again, marriages are here. But sexual favors, sexual appetite, sexual blocks, one night stands, harlotry, prostitution, sleeping around. Incest comes back here. Sensuality and sexuality. Okay. Eroticism, asexuality. Okay. Typically, some people are realizing they're asexual. That's fine. Virgins or virginity. Incineration. With the whole thing with the stuff that's happening, it could be incineration of any kind, but it could be also like post-mortem incineration. Offerings. Okay, that's tied to what I said before. Vegetation. So new things with vegetation, raw and ripe fruits, chocolate, apples, apple trees, harvest, falling fruit. Okay. Selections are choices you make. That kind of makes sense. Lighting and light, flares, fire, smithwork, flints. Ah, this is where the earthquake comes in. Tremors, earthquakes, aftershocks. Okay. The whole abandoned stuff, I know I mentioned it earlier. That makes sense. Shutouts is included here. So theft and burglary, thievery, theft and thieves, reporting to the authorities, sort of tattletale sort of thing comes back in here. Breach of privacy. That's yeah, locks, locking and unlocking. Colors, okay. Um, I'm not sure if this is tied to this one, but dogmatism or baptism of some kind, initiations of kinds. Cleansing water, cleansing water. So makes sense where the oceans are being cleaned now. Many people are coming back. Some countries are opening that up. Um, ocean cleanup projects. Yeah, it's right here. Sows or pigs, plows. Again, the earthquake comes here, comes in again. I'm going to take that out. I already have that. Crowds, groups, collectives, mediums, psychopomps, the afterlife. Post-mortem conditions, so just like the incineration I mentioned before. Female deities, ghosts, spirits. Ah, that was part of this saute thing. Starvation, fasting, food, drinks, mead, alcohol, ale, bartending and bartenders, serving alcohol. Resources, disguises, cross-dressing or playing dress up. Dresses, brides, gowns, keys, jingling sounds, jewelry, necklaces, torques, the one that looks like a necklace, but it's kind of open and you can just remove it. Chokers of some kind. Feathered clothing, down, down blankets, glass, falcons, cats, boars, oxen, chariots, traveling, multiple names, aliases, wars, battles, and battlefields, Valkyries. Anywhere there's rustic dwelling, which is kind of, I believe, an Aries thing as well. Cottages, blocks, and barricades, walls. Okay, there's that. Uh, hmm, interesting. Heracles is part of this one. So Heracles is about asphyxiation, invasions, achievements, conquests, intervention, PTSDs here again. I'm going to repeat some of the things I mentioned here. Heteropaternal superfecundation, which is having the same two of the same fathers. Intoxication, that's the whole libation thing. Intoxication I mentioned earlier. The drunkenness, drug abuse, which is part of the placement in Neptune. Okay, hallucinogens, domestic violence, homicides, crimes of passion, forms of labor and service, servitude. Okay, things you see how there's a common trait here, just a common theme. Labor force, imposed or unpaid labor, acts of heroism, indoctrinated loyalty, servitude, and patriotism. It's kind of the same thing with the initiation earlier. Rewards and reward systems or awards, purification rites and tasks, wrestling, wrestler, superhuman abilities, of course, feats of strength, bodybuilding, the bow and arrow, poisoned arrows, poison, clubs, cloaks, spawns. Anywhere labor is a big thing. Okay, places like South Korea, Japan, Germany, United States, Switzerland, Singapore, Norway, Australia, Sweden, Denmark. Anywhere mountainous. A huge list here. I'm not going to name all of them. Countries or places of labor productivity per working hour. Anywhere wrestling is popular as well. I think that's it. That's my thing for today. So because it's tied to the moon, I'm only focusing on the conjunctions here. And that's all it is for today. I know that was quite long, but that's how it goes. Astrology reasoning it along. If you have any questions below, whatever you want to do, comments, whatever you want to do. Thank you. See you in somewhere. I don't know.